Hello, welcome to my book report series. Today I'll be talking about The Hobbit. I'm pretty sure it's the introductory novel to the Middle Earth lore. J.R.R. Tolkien pretty much founded a whole genre out of this book. This is an amazing book. Tolkien. Tolkien. I've heard various enunciations of his name, and I'm sure I've butchered every single one of them. But yeah, it's amazing how simple but deep this book is, which is probably one of the reasons why they made three films out of it instead of just one of them. I personally. I like all three of the Hobbit films that they made. I personally would have made two movies out of it, like when they got to the Misty Mountains and then another movie after that. But I'm not really talking about the movies, I'm talking about the book here. But one more thing about the book compared to the movies. Gandalf in the book is much more of an asshole. The Hobbit, Bilbo Baggins, is just kind of chilling at his house, and then the wizard shows up and pretty much kicks him out of his house. And hey, guess what? You're going on an adventure. I don't like adventures. Tough nuts. You're going on an adventure. But yeah, and the 13 Hobbits, not the 13 Hobbits, the one Hobbit and the 13 Dwarves. Kind of hard to tell apart the different dwarves, but really the main character of the book really isn't the Hobbit himself. It's really Middle Earth. It's amazing how much. It's kind of a big book, but it's big print on the book. It's I really like this book. Well, I had this book since I was a kid. But I'm pretty should be looking at the camera even though I'm flipping through the book. But I'm looking for a certain page. Oh yeah, here it is. This book is amazing because of the artwork in it. I know that looks horrible, me putting the book up to the monitor here, the screen. But it has these amazing full page pictures of the book. I know, hey, I like the book because of the pretty pictures. It's kind of dumb. But the drawings are by MIAAQ. Sorry, names aren't my forte. But yeah, and well, the map by Mr. Tolkien himself. It's amazing to look at. It's a pretty impressive artwork here. Here, it's bad. Bad video here, I'm sure. But yeah, it's amazing. Like. The great thing about Tolkien is every time someone's introduced, they introduce him and they go off on a little tangent about the deep history of this world, and it's amazing about every single person in this book. You can write several books on the whole history of each person. It's amazing. So yes, definitely a great introduction into a whole world, into a whole series of books. I'll admit I haven't read through it a whole lot of times as I should, and other Tolkien works. I have the works. It just the other ones get a little dense, and this book can get kind of dense sometimes. It's an easy read, but when you get if you can, it's also kind of get distracted in its own history sometimes. So it's like he'll mention, let's see, Thorin Oakenshield, the leader of the dwarves. I keep trying to say the dwarves are hobbits, which they're not. Which is amazing because he also invented different races of people with the grand histories of themselves. I don't know. And it's kind of interesting because if other authors tried to do this, it would just be like distracting. But the way Tolkien mastered that is amazing. But yeah, each person has a history unto themselves, and each race has a history of themselves, and within the race there's separation of people. It's amazing. But yeah, this book reports aren't really I don't want this to be a review of the book itself. It's just kind of my thoughts on it. So yeah, that's wish I could say more about it, but I really need to make better notes when I read books for this book report stuff. But yeah, that's every third Monday of the month I want to do a book report on books. That was a little shallow, I felt. But yeah, that's the book report on the Hobbit. Yeah, I gotta say, the Hobbit really is more of an introductory to the world of Middle Earth than it is about the Hobbit. Even though most of the interesting stuff isn't happening in the story, it's kind of interesting like that. I don't know. I think I feel like if anybody else did that kind of stuff in their story, I would be detracting from it. I would say that was a bad thing, that they were trying to be distracted for the main story, but it just kind of adds depth to the story, because it really is. Another name for the Hobbit is there and back again, and that's all that really happens. He's a halfling that goes to a mountain and comes back, because all the fighting of the dragon and all of the big battle that happens in the story, the Hobbit has nothing to do with. And it's he's just kind of there. But yeah, that's the Hobbit. Thanks for watching. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next month yet, but yeah, thanks for watching.